The Environmental Protection Agency is in a course that will damage the environment and not protect it. Observe EPA's willingness to do so while spouting false statements to make its case. EPA Secretary Lisa Jackson says that if the House and Senate won't pass a cap-and-trade bill, the EPA will move forward on its own to enact ways to reduce greenhouse gases, including CO2. Secretary Jackson is still clinging to the "science is settled" statement that is now known to be absolutely false. In addition to the tens of thousands of scientists who have signed a petition belittling the catastrophic global warming forecast, even Phil Jones, former director of the Climate Research Unit at East Anglia University, which has been the gold standard of global temperatures, has now publicly admitted that the science is not settled. What does Secretary Jackson know that Dr. Jones, a 34-year veteran of climate research, not know? Or, for that matter, what about economist and climate scientist Alan Carlin out of her own agency, who notified the EPA that he could not find the science to back up EPA's claims on man-made global warming? Her pronouncements are not factual. They are purely political and will give the current administration a hefty stream of tax dollars. Those dollars will come out of your pocket. That is, if you use electricity, transportation fuel, or food. A preconceived political position has no place in evaluating science. It is frequently wrong, will ultimately give science a bad name, and goes against President Obama's pledge to bring the science back to its rightful position when deliberation on scientific issues are being considered. What does this have to do with habitats, ecosystems, and food? If the EPA should eventually be successful in reducing CO2 to pre-industrial levels, as many environmental extremists desire, the average growth of plants or food will diminish by at least 12%, and the growth of forests by 18%. 12% equates to the elimination of food for 1 out of 8 people on Earth. The Associated Press reported recently that over 1 billion people are severely malnourished. Since there are 7 billion people on Earth today, it follows that hundreds of millions of these people might die as the food supply diminishes. Additional atmospheric CO2, a marvelous airborne fertilizer, would be extremely beneficial to Mother Earth and her plant and animal kingdoms, habitats, and ecosystems. More CO2 causes plants to require less water, thus making them drought tolerant, as we can already see where plants are moving into the margins of the deserts. The plants also become more resistant to many common stresses. But as EPA has claimed, isn't CO2 a pollutant that will be an endangerment to mankind? There's not a single case of CO2 being a pollutant. EPA buys the story that CO2 is a major cause of global warming, but refuses to bring forth the scientific evidence to support that position. It's our money that finances the EPA, and yet Secretary Jackson will not reveal the scientific evidence that backs up her position. It is no wonder, because since thousands of us have been trying to find out the evidence and cannot find it, obviously she does not have it. She just throws the "science is settled" statement right back in our face. It is also no wonder the most recent Gallup poll is showing that the public is rapidly moving into the skeptical camp, since our paid servants can't produce any empirical evidence to support the man-made climate change hypothesis.